Have you ever heard of Tartessos? No? Then prepare yourself for a revelation that will rewrite how you see history. Imagine an empire so wealthy that its cities shimmered with gold at sunset, so advanced that it traded with Egyptians, Greeks, and Phoenicians centuries before Rome laid its foundations, and so enigmatic that it was erased from the pages of history. Yes, you heard that right. Tartessos existed. It was mentioned by Herodotus, revered by Phoenician sailors, and feared by those who control what we call official history. But one day, it simply vanished. No war, no smoldering ruins, no record of its fall. Was it forgotten or silenced? Today, you will discover why Tartessos may have been the empire the world chose to bury, but which now, slowly, begins to resurface like a ghost from the past that refuses to be ignored. Let's travel back in time, before Rome, before Athens was the cradle of philosophy. On the banks of the Guadalquivir and Guadiana rivers, in the south of the Iberian Peninsula, flourished a civilization that seemed to emerge from an ancient dream or a forgotten nightmare, Tartessos. Its name echoes in legends but also in ancient texts. Herodotus spoke of them with respect. The Greeks regarded them with an almost fearful curiosity. The Phoenicians, masters of the seas, treated them as allies or rivals. But what exactly was Tartessos? It was a maritime civilization, yes, but it was far more than that. The Tartessians seem to have understood something that eluded other cultures of their time, a rare balance between spirituality, science, and politics. Their cities, built with precision and beauty, were described as places where knowledge flowed as freely as the rivers that ran through them. And the strangest part? They created their own script, not derived from the Phoenician alphabet, not similar to Greek, a language entirely their own, one that still baffles linguists today, a language that may not have been just for communication, but for rituals, for encoding wisdom that could not be spoken aloud. These traces, inscriptions, on stone, symbols repeated on artifacts, hint at advanced, almost esoteric thinking. Some records suggest that Tartessian priests didn't just observe the stars, they understood them in cyclical patterns of energy, as if the universe were a living organism with which they communicated. They seem to know that every empire is doomed to ruin if it forgets where it came from. And so, they built their legacy in layers, superficial to the common eye, hidden for those who dared to look deeper. Legend says Tartessos wasn't just a wealthy city. It was a city that glowed. Ancient accounts speak of temples adorned with precious metals, statues with emerald eyes, and halls where gold and bronze fused into mystical arabesques, reflecting a light that blinded unprepared visitors. It was a city that seemed to exist between the material and the spiritual planes. Arganthonios, the legendary king of Tartessos, was, according to records, a man of extraordinary wisdom. He ruled for over a century. But more than his longevity, what astonishes is his stance toward the world. He was not a conqueror. He was a protector, a guardian of something greater. It is said that upon learning of the conflicts between Greeks and Persians, Arganthonios sent resources, gold, timber, ships, so the Hellenes could build fortifications. What kind of king does that unless he already possesses all he needs? Trade in Tartessos wasn't just in goods. It was in ideas. Art, astronomy, metallurgy, medicine, all flowed through its ports. It was as if the city were a convergence point of ancient knowledge, a place where past and future touched, and even that was terrifying, because a place like this should not exist. Then came the silence, relentless, devastating, unexplainable. Around the 6th century BCE, Tartessos ceased to be mentioned. It vanished from maps, vanished from travel logs. The ships that once sailed from its docks disappeared over the horizon. The temples, once vibrant, turned to dust and shadow. And the most unsettling part, no sign of war. No chronicles record an invasion. No people claimed its destruction. Just an emptiness, a gap that defies historical logic. It's as if someone, or something, decided Tartessos should be erased not just physically, but from collective memory. Some suggest a natural disaster, earthquakes, floods, but no known geological event aligns with this sudden disappearance. Others whisper of conspiracy, a silent pact among rising empires, Rome, Carthage, even the descendants of the Phoenicians, all eager to rewrite history, to erase any trace of a civilization that could challenge their cultural and spiritual hegemony. Independent researchers, often dismissed, speak of hidden scrolls that mention a spiritual code guarded in Tartessian temples, a doctrine that treated consciousness as a creative force, energy as a malleable element, immortality not as myth, but as a state of vibration. Could this be the true reason for the erasure? Did Tartessos discover something that threatened not armies, but imposed truths? Imagine a world where a civilization understood the cycles of the soul, where death was not an end, but a transition, where temples taught the elevation of the mind, not submission. A world like that could not coexist with the world that would follow. What if Tartessos never truly disappeared? What if it simply changed its name? Since ancient times, one myth has haunted philosophers, archaeologists, and dreamers alike: the legend of Atlantis. A circular island, ringed by walls of precious metals wielding advanced technology, vast riches, and knowledge that defied the gods, until it was swallowed by the sea. Plato wrote of it. Claimed Egyptian priests revealed its story to Solon. But what if those priests were actually speaking of Tartessos, the location, nearly identical, just beyond the Strait of Gibraltar? The culture, maritime, rich in metals, with advanced understanding of energy and spirituality. The fall, unexplained, no records, only an oppressive silence. Was Tartessos the real inspiration behind Atlantis? Or, in an even more unsettling twist, was Atlantis a smokescreen designed to bury Tartessos? Modern researchers point to submerged structures near Doñana. Sunken walls, canals, platforms, all match Plato's descriptions. Yet every breakthrough in this investigation meets something stronger than ignorance. Sabotage. Reports vanish. Funding evaporates. Scholars are silenced, as if an invisible force works to keep Tartessos trapped between myth and truth. But why? Perhaps because Tartessos, or Atlantis, was more than a civilization. It was an experiment, a nucleus of awakened consciousness, capable of shaping reality itself, and perhaps the world still isn't ready to remember. Tartessos may have vanished from history books, but not from the earth. Its bones, temples, tools, artifacts, still whisper beneath layers of sand, silt, and denial. Recent excavations in Spain's Doñana region revealed buried geometric structures, circular patterns, stone foundations, ceramic fragments etched with unknown script. Some sites align perfectly with ancient Phoenician maps marking Tartessos' capital. But the most chilling detail isn't what's been found, it's what's been suppressed. Documented cases show archaeological projects defunded overnight after major discoveries. Universities pressured to abandon scientists who dared link findings to Tartessos. Entire reports gone. Photo archives wiped. Witnesses claim key artifacts excavated decades ago never reached museums, vanishing into government labs under classified seals. Coincidence? Or a coordinated effort to ensure Tartessos stays buried? Not under soil, but under doubt. Then there are the objects from Andalusian mountain caves, metal tools with near-modern precision, figurines depicting star maps, fossilized shells engineered as acoustic measuring devices, proving knowledge of vibrational science we're only rediscovering today. And the symbols, double spirals, 12-pointed geometries, quartz-carved eyes, designs identical to those found in Andean, Sumerian, and Egyptian ruins. How could these connections exist if Tartessos never left southwestern Europe? The answer is unsettling. Either history as we know it is wrong, Or there's far more to humanity's origins and its cover-up than we've been told. And the most unnerving truth? What lies beneath our feet may not be dead. The energy still pulses. Think carefully. If an entire civilization was erased so efficiently, isn't it reasonable to assume that what they knew was more dangerous than any army? Not dangerous for its violence, but for its power to liberate. Forgotten manuscripts speak of the Architects of Light, a secretive order within Tartessos' priestly caste. They were said to guard knowledge that transcended the physical, wisdom on manipulating frequencies to alter consciousness, heal disease, extend life, and, according to the boldest accounts, reconnect with intelligences not of this world. Yes, we're talking about spiritual and energetic knowledge that defies modern understanding. These texts claim Tartessian temples weren't just places of worship. They were machines, built at intersections of Earth's energy lines, ley lines. They resonated with geomagnetic patterns used in healing rituals, collective meditation, and consciousness expansion. Imagine a civilization that grasped the principles of vibration and frequency long before Tesla, long before Einstein. A civilization that understood reality is shaped by the mind, that matter is merely energy at its densest stage. Now understand why this was a problem. For the empires that would rise, built on brute force, fear, and obedience, a population, unafraid of death, aware of its spiritual origin and capable of self-healing, would be ungovernable. Tartessos wasn't a threat because of its weapons, but because of its example. It proved another path was possible, a path where humans are sovereign over their own souls. So if there was an effort to silence this civilization, it wasn't just about territorial control. It was about controlling the very narrative of existence. Perhaps Tartessos wasn't destroyed. Perhaps it was forcibly erased from our collective memory. Tartessos is returning, not as an empire rebuilt in stone and gold, but as a persistent echo seeping through the cracks of time with the quiet force of truth. While institutions deny, individuals search, independent researchers, rogue archaeologists, digital explorers, and awakened spiritualists, all silently piecing together a puzzle shattered over 2 millennia ago. And technology, paradoxically, has become an ally of the forbidden. High-resolution satellites, LiDAR drones, AI-assisted archaeology. Geographic data once locked in government vaults is now accessible to anyone with courage and curiosity. And all evidence points to one inevitable conclusion. Tartessos is not a myth. It's a poorly kept secret. Recent imaging reveals unnatural patterns buried under compacted mud. Symmetrical structures, stepped platforms, canals proving mastery not just of hydraulics, but possibly of energy flow. Then there are the oral accounts. Elderly Andalusian farmers pass down stories of glowing temples beneath the earth, lights with no source, voices echoing in caves no one dares enter. Are these just folktales? Or fragments of a collective memory that couldn't be fully erased? Even more striking, the parallels between Tartessian structures and distant civilizations, Sumerian ziggurats, Inca observatories, the ruins of the Indus Valley, all sharing similar designs, all speaking of gods from the stars or the depths. Tartessos could be the key, the missing link connecting antiquity's greatest enigmas. And there's more. In closed circles, whispers persist of a living lineage. Descendants of the last priests, hiding in enclaves guarding fragments of the original wisdom. Manuscripts, mantras, maps. But where are they? Who protects them? And why haven't they come forward? Perhaps they wait for the right moment. Perhaps they fear what happened before, and so Tartessos' story doesn't end. It folds in on itself like a black mirror reflecting not the past, but what we might yet become. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You now carry a fragment of a secret buried, not just under stone and sand, but under carefully cultivated lies. But the question remains, why do they want you to forget Tartessos? Why such silence? Around a civilization that by all accounts sought only to illuminate? Perhaps because the truth is dangerous. And Tartessos wasn't just a city. It was an idea. Proof that humanity is capable of more than enslavement, conquest, and obedience. Perhaps Tartessos is a reflection of what we could be, if we dare to remember. So now, we extend an invitation. Comment below. Do you believe Tartessos was just another ancient civilization, or history's greatest secret? If you want a part 2 covering forgotten rituals, decoded symbols, and possible hideouts of the last initiates, write, "I want the truth." Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time.